don't you? All right, so we are going to get cracking. So once again, welcome to this Microsoft 365 session around more than just Office. We're going to be looking at some of the really awesome features that are included in products like Microsoft 365 Business Premium, things that go beyond the obvious Word, PowerPoint, Excel, things that can focus on things such as communication, collaboration, security, and of course, saving costs and effectively doing more with less. This session is hosted by myself. My name is Ed Dale. I'm the L&D Director at Illuminate Learning, and this session is also hosted by TD Synex. So let's jump into it. And effectively, why are we having this conversation right now? Well, we know how much the world has changed over the last few years, post-COVID. We've all seen dramatic shifts in how businesses are run, how business is done. We've seen huge rises in hybrid and mobile work. And I don't like the term the new normal, but it absolutely is for many of us. Many of us will be doing this call right now from home. Some people are back in the office. The fact is, there is no longer a one-size-fits-all situation when it comes to business. Everything has dramatically shifted. And whilst this has brought about many benefits for the workforce, with a lot of people saying that they enjoy being flexible, they enjoy being mobile, a lot of people actually actively choose jobs where flexibility and mobility is actually part of the role, where people do have that freedom to work from home. We've seen shifts where people have actually left jobs when after COVID they were asked to go back to the office, and have actually left those jobs to go to jobs that allow that flexible hybrid working models. So it has brought about benefits for workers, but then it also has brought about challenges for organizations. The fact that we now have people working remotely, signing in from different locations, different networks, different devices. This has brought about challenges such as, how do we maintain high standards of communication and collaboration? How do we maintain high standards of security? And of course, all of these things can be solved, but normally at a cost. And there are examples of where customers have gone out and bought very expensive third-party security solutions, which as far as they're concerned are doing the job, but are very expensive. How could you potentially save money and of course do more with less? And the whole do more with less thing is a real key focus for Microsoft at the moment. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella gave a very good speech around doing more with less, and effectively highlighting the tough economic times that a lot of customers are facing. People need to be able to maintain these high standards, but at the same time not hemorrhage cash doing it. So during this session, we're going to be focusing on some key areas of Microsoft 365 and how it can help you do more with less. Like we said, saving costs, being able to consolidate applications and services into a single platform stack. We're going to look at how it can increase security confidence, some of the really powerful security tools that exist within Microsoft 365, which means that you could potentially save money on what you're spending on security at the moment. And of course, how can M365 improve productivity by helping you to connect with customers from anywhere, being able to lower things such as travel expenses by using products like Teams. So these are some of the key areas that we're going to focus on as we go through this session. Now, I should have said this at the beginning. Even though this is a Teams live event, which means you're unable to talk back to me, that doesn't mean you can't ask questions. You'll notice there is a Q&A box. Hopefully you can see that there. If you do have any questions as we go through, if you want to type your questions into the Q&A box, my glamorous assistant Sabrina will handle some of your questions. And if it's something that we want to discuss further, we'll bring that question to the forefront. But please feel free to ask any questions. I said, if it's something we don't know, we can take that offline and we can come back to you with an answer. Okay, so let's have a look at the M365 SKUs that are currently available for SMBs. Now, Microsoft defines an SMB, a small to medium business, as anyone from 300 seats and under. That's Microsoft's definition of SMB. And these are the products which are focused for for SMBs. So you can see we've got a few. Let me just grab my pen real quick. So the first one we've got is M365 Business Basic. Now you can see that this includes all of the cloud services from Microsoft 365. So things such as Exchange, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, and even the web versions of things like Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. Now with Basic, because it is effectively just the cloud services, this means that you wouldn't be able to download any of the desktop applications onto your device. It means if you wanted to use Word or PowerPoint or Excel, you would have to do that through the web browser, which basically makes M365 Business Basic an online SKU only. You would only really be able to get the maximum benefit of this product if you are connected to the internet. Now, in this flexible world of hybrid working, people traveling around, being connected to the internet isn't always the option that some people have, especially if they're traveling. One of the more popular SKUs, and a SKU maybe a lot of you on this call have, is M365 Business Standard. And as you can see, it includes all the same cloud services as we saw in Business Basic, but then also includes all of the desktop applications, so you can actually install these onto the device. Now, how many devices can you install these applications onto? Is it 5? Well, no, actually, it's 15. You can install these applications on up to 5 PCs and or Macs, 5 phones, and 5 tablets per user. So that's 5 devices of each type, so 15 in total, which again gives a huge amount of flexibility to a mobile worker. The fact that regardless of the device that you have on you when you leave your house that morning, you have got your entire office suite wherever you go. Now, the product that we are going to be focusing on throughout today's session is, of course, the hero M365 product for SMBs, which of course is M365 Business Premium. Now, once again, you can see it has all of the same things as above in M365 Business Standard, but where this stands apart is it also includes all of these brilliant advanced security and device management tools. Now, there's some awesome stuff in here, and some of this stuff some of you on this call might be familiar with, things like Intune, Azure Information Protection, Conditional Access, Azure Virtual Desktop, Defender for Business, Defender for Office 365, and Cloud App Security. Don't worry if you're not familiar with those. We are going to be talking about those features as we go through. But effectively, by integrating the security and the productivity into a single stack can help save time in terms of management, deployment, and of course, just the sheer costs as well. And we'll come back to that in just a moment. Now, some of the other things about Microsoft 365 that a lot of people don't realize is that M365 also includes a lot of hidden gems. Now, Microsoft don't really shout too much about these products, so some of these you might not have heard of, but that doesn't mean they are not incredibly powerful and useful tools. For example, included in M365 Business Premium, you have all of these great tools here. For example, let's take this one here, Power Automate. For example, now previously this was a product which was called Microsoft Flow, and Power Automate is a tool that allows you to create workflow automations. So some of you might have within your organizations certain repetitive tasks, certain tasks that need to be done either every day or every week or every month, the tasks that no one likes doing because they're boring or they're dull or they just take a ridiculous amount of time for what it is. Well, if you do have workflows like that, you can use Power Automate to automate those workflows, that they can be set to timers, they can run automatically, and that's stuff that you just don't have to do yourself. So again, all the tools like this are included in M365 Business Premium. And just as an example of another one, Power Apps. Now, this is a tool that allows you to build your own custom applications, whether these be web apps, Windows, iOS, or Android. Now, if no one on this call is particularly savvy at coding or anything like that, or building apps before, well, you don't actually have to worry, because Power Apps is designed to be low or no code, which effectively means with relatively small amount of technical skills, you can actually build your own custom applications for your business. So if you wanted to build an application which your staff could use for booking holidays, to streamline the HR process of, again, booking holidays or personal time off, you could do that. Effectively, the sky is the limit with what you can achieve with Power Apps. And again, this is all included in M365 Business Premium. I'll just pick one more just as an example. This one here, which is called Planner. Now, there are other tools out there which are similar. There is a third-party product which some of you might have heard of, maybe some of you use it, which is called Asana. And Asana is effectively a project management tool, and I saw loads of adverts for Asana, especially during the lockdown period. You know, everyone was working from home, team leaders, project managers. Oh, how am I going to manage my teams or my projects when I'm not in the same room as them? So they went out in the panic and just bought tools like Asana. And don't get me wrong, Asana is a very good tool, but Microsoft Planner effectively allows you to do the same thing, to manage team tasks or manage projects, being able to see the status of where people are at with certain workloads. So you don't have to be one of those managers, you know, and I'm sure we've all had one of those managers in the past that, you know, is phoning you up every 5 minutes. How far have you got with this? Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? You don't have to have none of that with Planner, because you can see where people are at with their current workloads or projects. Again, allowing you to manage effectively, but without micromanaging. You know, it's really powerful tools. And again, a lot of customers and a lot of the features that we're going to talk about today, a lot of these products will have other equivalents out there in the market. And all of these equivalents, so take Asana, for example, again, a very good tool, but it does have a per user per month cost associated to it. So again, even though Asana does pretty much the same thing, there is also that cost to address, that per user per month. Whereas again, with Planner, all of these tools that I'm showing you right here are included in M365 Business Premium and can be used for no additional cost. And it's that consolidation that M365 Business Premium can offer that can help organizations like yours to save money on tools that, again, could be quite expensive or potentially quite complex to manage. So with that in mind, let's talk about how Microsoft 365 can enable better communication and collaboration. Now, it probably comes as no surprise to anyone. We are, of course, talking about Microsoft Teams. Now, I know a lot of you are probably very savvy with Teams. Many of you have probably been using Teams maybe pre-pandemic. Maybe some of you started using it during the pandemic. But effectively, I'm not going to insult people by explaining what Teams is, because again, I'm sure you all know that and have been using it. But here's the question. A lot of people use Teams. A lot of people use Teams, but then a lot of people use Teams just for things such as like meetings, messaging, or chat. And that's great. You know, Teams is built for those things, but Teams is far more powerful than just meetings, chat, and messaging. It's got a lot of powerful tools. And one of the things that questions that I get a lot from customers, especially when I'm talking to people who are using things like Zoom, for example. And again, don't get me wrong, Zoom is a fantastic product. It really is. And a lot of people would say to me, well, what's the difference between Teams and Zoom? Or why should I use Teams if I'm already using Zoom? Well, my answer to that is always that Zoom is a great meetings tool. You know, it really is. Zoom is a fantastic meetings tool, but Teams is a great collaboration tool. That's the difference between Zoom and Teams. Zoom, great for meetings. Teams is built for collaboration. The fact that, and again, a lot of you will know that you can share documents on Teams. You can co-author. I can create a document within Teams that my entire work group can then access and edit and make changes to. I don't have to worry about things like version control and everything else. It integrates with my Microsoft 365 stack. It synchronizes with my calendar, my contacts, all of that sort of stuff. It's that collaboration, it's that integration of teams within M365, within your primary workspace, that gives teams that edge over products such as Zoom. And again, talking about some of the things that you can do with Teams, did you know that you could use Teams as a platform, effectively using Teams as a hub of productivity? Now, some of you will know on Teams that there is an app store on Teams where you can download and install apps directly into Teams. And there is a whole host of third-party products that you can download and run these applications directly within Teams. But you can also build your own. Remember, I was talking about Power Apps earlier. Well, you can build your own custom applications and run those applications directly within Teams. And just as an example of that, here's an example of a customer. So it's obviously some kind of like wood flooring furniture company. They've got a customer support team within Teams, and utilizing Power Apps, they've built this cost estimator tool. So when the customer support team are on the phone to customers, they can pull up things such as product details, they can pull up pricing, they can pull up customer details, all sorts of stuff. Rather than this customer support team having to go to multiple different applications to get that information, they can do it all directly within Teams. So customer details, products, pricing, all of that. And like I said, the sky is the limit when it comes to Power Apps. And by deploying applications into Teams, you can really transform Teams from just being a communications tool, but to being a true hub of productivity. Let's be honest, for most of us, Teams is open on our desktops all day, every day anyway. So why not get it doing more than just meetings and chat? This is what is possible with Microsoft Teams. And whether you're looking to build your own custom apps with things such as Power Apps, for example, you can run Microsoft first-party applications directly into Teams. I don't know if anyone here uses Power BI. Again, Power BI is a data visualization tool. So you can connect Power BI to whatever data sources that you have. Maybe you've got databases, maybe on-prem or in the cloud, whoever it might be, but effectively Power BI can visualize that data into simple or very complex graphs and charts. Now, for any of you out there that may be the managing director or the marketing director or something high up in the business where you need to know the data about what's going on with your company, have you ever thought about having live dashboards visible only to you in Teams? So if you want to know what's going on with your company at a glance, you can literally just go to the Teams channel and just see exactly what is going on with your business with up to the minute data available through Power BI. So again, and the fact that you know that you can use Teams on any device. So again, whether you're looking at this on your mobile phone, your tablet, your laptop, your desktop, you're never more than a couple of touches away from seeing exactly where your organization is right now in terms of its stats. Again, very powerful tools there. And it's not just around things such as data, it's around bringing people together. Now, one of the things I do want to mention real quick, and this isn't specifically Microsoft 365, but it's a really important message, is Microsoft Teams Rooms, being able to transform your meeting spaces into collaboration hubs. Now, I travel a lot for the type of work that I do. You'll be amazed the amount of customers that I visit in just a single month, and the amount of times that I go to companies where I'll go into a meeting room or a boardroom where there'll be some kind of like, you know, Cisco or Polycom conferencing system on the desk. And there's times where the organization has asked me to do a training session and to use their Cisco or their Polycom system to broadcast my training to one of their other offices, either at the other end of the country or the other side of the world. And that's fine. I'm always happy to do that. But normally what will happen is I'll go, right, okay, well, I'm not familiar with this system. How does it work? And then within a few minutes, we've probably got about 11 people in the room trying to figure out how this conferencing system works. And the thing is, that never makes sense to me. I see companies and businesses that spend literally thousands of pounds on conferencing equipment that maybe only 5% of the business know how to use. How is that a good return on investment? If you're looking currently of upgrading or getting new conferencing systems, ask yourself the question, do you want everyone in the company to be able to use this, or do you just want an elite 2 to 5% of the business to know how this thing works? The great thing about Microsoft Teams Rooms is it keeps that consistency. Everyone is already using Teams at their desk, on their computers, on their phones. Why are the meeting room systems different? Why are they always proprietary? Why not have the same system, Teams, running throughout the business so everyone in the organization can walk into a meeting room and again be able to use that equipment? Again, it just maximizes the ROI. So there's just one thing to consider. Again, that's not specifically Microsoft 365, but I just wanted to throw it out there. If you are looking at upgrading or getting new conferencing systems, do please consider Teams Rooms, because again, for these key reasons, that it's easy for everyone to use, it's inclusive, it's flexible, and of course, because it's from Microsoft, it's bound by some of these most stringent security standards currently available. So some key reasons there. And of course, speak to your partners about Microsoft Teams Room. They would be more than happy to help. Now, just on the subject of telephony and phones, some of you will be familiar with Teams phone system, or just Teams phone. Now, Microsoft effectively decided that Teams should also be a telephony platform, and really kind of starting to move customers away from those legacy desk phone solutions, because one thing that COVID really did is it really shone a light on the inadequacies of legacy phone systems, where we had people, they were tied to a desk phone, organizations that had to juggle multiple apps. If you had an on-prem PBX, and for those of you who don't know, a PBX is a private branch exchange. Effectively, an on-prem PBX is effectively a server, a phone server, a big box with lots of very colorful, pretty wires coming out of it. And much like any servers, they need to be maintained, they need to be patched, they need to be updated, and inevitably one day they need to be put out to pasture and then replaced. So there are significant costs which lie around traditional telephony systems. So the whole idea with Teams Phone was to give you that ability to make and receive your business calls from your business phone number from any device and any location, to give that unified communications experience from a single application, and that application, of course, being Microsoft Teams. The fact that a lot of people are already familiar with using Teams, taking that next step into telephony is not too much of a big jump. And of course, using a cloud-based phone system saves money, because you don't have to worry about having any physical on-prem infrastructure, which, like I said, needs to be patched, updated, and that all costs money. And then potentially the benefit of having a single provider. So that single monthly cost that you pay to Microsoft for Microsoft 365 could include your phone system as well. So rather than having to pay Tom, Dick, and Harry every single month, all these different amounts of money, just a single monthly cost for everything. So from a financial standpoint, from a forecasting standpoint, it does make things incredibly easy. Now, I do have a case study which I would like to show you. Now, this is quite good, this case study. It comes from the UK, which makes a nice change. And it's all about this company called Boston Limited. They are a server and storage company based out of St Albans in the UK. And this is their story around how Teams Voice transformed communication within their organization. Now, I've got to say, when this case study was made, Teams Phone was called Business Voice. The name has now changed. It's now Teams Phone, but before it was Business Voice. So it's going to say Business Voice loads. Don't worry about that. It is the same thing. Have a quick look at this.
Boston Limited is a server and storage solutions provider.
We've got about 200 employees currently, and we ship to about 40 countries. We can't do that without speaking to people on the phone.
Communication used to be a challenge. We were using legacy technologies, classic phone system, and then multiple tools to try and stay connected.
Microsoft 365 Business Voice is a small business phone system that operates from the cloud. It allows you to connect from any device, from any location, and has seamless integration with the full Microsoft 365 ecosystem.
It's like having a virtual office. You've got all the tools available to you in a single screen. People feel as if they are working together.
You've got the full support of chats, file sharing, meetings, and phone calls. You can start off a very simple phone call, and with a click of a button, you can enhance that to give you full video, high fidelity sound, screen sharing, and collaboration.
Having everything in one place means we save time. Time is money. If we can access that conversation, that email, that document on our mobile device, we can get that to a customer faster.
With Microsoft Teams and the integration into Outlook, our users can now load up their contact list, click a phone number, and immediately Microsoft Teams is dialing that person.
Microsoft is a brand name that's trusted, so it puts our minds at ease, but also for anyone that works with us as well.
Any admin, even non-technical users in many countries quickly create phone numbers and assign them to their users.
It's more than just a telephone replacement system, it's a full collaboration tool.
Microsoft 365 Business Voice is essential for me running my team. It's saving me time, and I have a calmer life now.
Okie doke. So that is Microsoft Teams Phone, not Business Voice. But yeah, like I said, it is the same thing. But I really like that video. And there's one key point that always jumps out at me. It's when the managing director of that business says that this is more than just a telephone replacement system, that it's a full collaboration suite. And that really is the value of Teams Phone. If you are in the market or looking to change telephony providers in the future, you might look at Teams Phone versus some of the other telephony providers, and you might quickly establish that Teams Phone isn't necessarily the cheapest. But again, it's because Teams Phone is more than just a phone system. It's the fact that Teams Phone integrates with the rest of your M365 stack, things that other telephony providers don't do or can't do. So it's that additional value that makes Teams Phone brilliant for organizations that want to increase not just their levels of communication, but also the levels of collaborative working. And if you do work for a company that does have a highly mobile workforce, or maybe post-pandemic, most people work from home or out on the road, then things like Teams Phone is absolutely ideal for you. Again, not just allowing everyone to stay in contact with each other and your customers, but then also being able to collaborate on certain critical workloads. So a lot of real key benefits to Teams Phone and to organizations that are looking to, again, increase their productivity through collaboration. And of course, with Teams Phone, there are a number of different ways you can use Teams Phone, whether it's through things such as either laptops, desktops, mobile phones, tablets. Effectively, any device where you can download the Teams application can effectively become your business phone. So again, wherever you are, whatever device you have with you, you have got your entire office, including your business phone number wherever you are. And of course, you can port over your business phone numbers. So if you've already got existing phone numbers, which I'm sure you will do, you can port those numbers over so you can bring it all with you. So it's absolutely seamless. Now, one of the questions that I often get asked by customers is they say, well, Microsoft isn't a phone company. I mean, they're not a telephony house. Why would I go with Microsoft for my phone system? And, you know, that is a fair question. Teams Phone, or Business Voice as it was known, has only actually been around since November 2019, so it is still very much a new product in the market. But just because it's new doesn't mean that it's a lightweight by any measure of the imagination. Last year, Gartner actually put Microsoft, you can see, at the top of the leaders category, beating out a lot of very well-known telephony providers such as Cisco, Zoom, 8x8 and Fuse. So not only is Microsoft's telephony solution, again, relatively new, but it's actually beaten its way to the top of Gartner's 2021 Unified Comms Magic Quadrant, again, because of the great level of service and features that it offers. Now, even if you are in current contracts with your existing telephony providers, you can bring that over. Being in contract with someone like BT, for example, doesn't mean that you can't still use Teams. We have got what we call things such as, let me just grab my pen, things such as direct routing. Now, I won't go into the complexities of how direct routing works, but effectively what it means is you keep your contract with BT, for example, and BT will route all of your calls through Microsoft Teams. So effectively, you still have BT, they're still providing you your calling plans and you're still paying for BT as you would, but then you've got the benefit of then having your solution all coming through Teams and the collaboration features and everything else. So it can have the best of both worlds. You can have it all just through Microsoft if you want, but if you would rather keep your existing telephony provider and use Microsoft's Teams platform for your phone system, you can do that as well. And if you'd like further details on that, please reach out to your partners. They'll be able to guide you around which solution would be best for you. But like I said, it's not black and white. It's not like either have Microsoft or just use someone else. You can have both if you want. And features and functionality as well. Loads of new features are being added to Teams Phone every single year. So in 2021, again, a lot of new features being launched. My favorite on here is Apple CarPlay support. So even when I'm in the car, I can still be making and receiving my business calls through the entertainment system on my car. So some really awesome things. And it's not just these new shiny features. A lot of the key things that you would require from any phone system is also included. And again, I'm not going to run through this line by line. God, imagine if I did. How torturous would that be? All right, let's start from the beginning. Call park. No, we're not going to do that. God. Yeah, all the features from calling and key admin features, again, Teams Phone does cover. And I'm sure we're going to send out some collateral after this. So again, all of this stuff is available for reference. And you can find all of this information online as well. If you just type in Teams Phone into a browser of your choice, you'll be able to see all the latest features and benefits from Teams Phone. Okie doke. So moving on to the next topic, which is increasing security confidence. Now, of course, security is top of mind for all organizations, small and large and enterprise businesses alike. And this is important because, you know, attackers, they don't discriminate. They don't care how big or small your business is. If you've got something within your business, be it data, be it money, whatever it might be, if it's valuable to you, well, guess what? It's valuable to them as well. And if they can get their hands on it, they absolutely will. And again, we're seeing, again, a 300% increase in ransomware attacks in the last year, with 50% of those, so 150% of those ransomware attacks being targeted at small businesses. So it's absolutely imperative that we make sure we are doing everything that we can to protect ourselves. Now, one of the things that does put off a lot of businesses, especially smaller businesses, around security compliancy is then the associated cost. To become security compliant, again, a lot of tools out there, they're very good, but there are tools out there that are good, but they're very expensive, or they're very complex to manage. If you don't have the skills and the knowledge of how to configure or manage this stuff, again, it's pointless buying it, because if you don't know how to use it, then you're not going to be able to set it up right. And again, security software that isn't configured correctly, you know, it just might as well not be there. It's like having a seatbelt in a car and not wearing it. Yep, the seatbelt's there, but if it's not on, it's not going to be giving you any protection whatsoever. So what sort of challenges are we up against as well? And I've just thrown this next slide in just because I found it interesting. There's an insight into my my dull life, what I find interesting. But no, I thought this was actually quite good because this does kind of show that attacks and hacking and breaches, it's become a business. It's an industrial model. So again, you can go onto the dark web if you wanted, and you could buy an attack. You can literally buy an attack. You tell the person, right, I want you to attack this company. Here's some money, and they will go off and do that attack for you. It is turned into a multi-billion, multi-trillion dollar industry worldwide. I actually read something on LinkedIn that said that cyber attacks, the cyber attack business has actually beaten the drugs trade in terms of its profitability. Now that's not career advice for anyone, by the way, but I'm just saying that we're seeing again a lot of investment is going into cyber attacks and creating this industrial model. So the fact is, attackers nowadays, you don't necessarily need to be skilled or talented or whatever it is. All you need to do is be able to go online and buy an attack. So again, it's never been easier. And how do we stay ahead of this stuff? Well, Microsoft is currently monitoring over 140 threat groups, over 40 nation states as well. So countries like Russia, for example. Microsoft is analyzing 43 trillion threat signals daily. Now, how does Microsoft do that? Well, again, consider that Microsoft is plugged in to pretty much everything, consumer, commercial. Think of all the things all around the world that Microsoft provides for customers. Again, in consumer land and commercial land, Microsoft is analyzing 43 trillion points of anonymized data every single day to help give Microsoft an understanding of what the current threat landscape looks like. And this is one thing that Microsoft can do that a lot of other security companies can't. There is no other security company out there that has the level of global optics that Microsoft has to be able to monitor at this level, to understand what the world looks like from a threat perspective, and being able to proactively put in protection before something happens. Now, once again, when I'm talking about industry-leading security from Microsoft, I often get the thing, well, Microsoft's not a security company. Microsoft, you make Word, PowerPoint, Excel, you're not a security company. And, you know, a lot of people share that sentiment. Well, again, just like the telephony side of things, it's actually not true. Microsoft, according to organizations like Forrester and Gartner, Microsoft again has been put as the leader in a lot of new wave reports and magic quadrants, beating out again a lot of very well-known security companies. Take this stat from the IDC MarketScape. Look where Microsoft is compared to almost everyone else. So this is from last year. So this is endpoint security for small and mid-sized businesses last year. Microsoft is the only leader in the IDC MarketScape, beating out companies which, again, a lot of you may have heard of, people such as Kaspersky or Fortinet or Bitdefender or CrowdStrike. So again, Microsoft security solutions are actually some of the best available in the industry. And a lot of these great tools we are actually including for free in Microsoft 365 Business Premium, which costs £16.60, by the way. You would struggle to build out a security platform of third-party vendors for less than £16.60. So it does constitute a huge bargain for customers such as yourselves. And looking at really what Microsoft can do, how can M365 from a security perspective help enable remote access and protect identities? So we've got things such as MFA, For example, multi-factor authentication. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with MFA. MFA effectively is there to stop passwords from being the weakest link in security, effectively. That even if an attacker were to steal your username or your password without the secondary authentication method, the password on its own is effectively useless. So MFA is included with M365 Business Premium, and it is one of the simplest yet one of the most effective things that you could implement to protect yourselves from identity-based attacks. Up to 99.9% of identity-based attacks can be prevented just by implementing MFA alone. Now, some of you might be already using Microsoft for your MFA. If so, fantastic. Some of you might be using other companies, and again, that's fine. But I would ask the question, and again, I'm going to use an example of, say, Cisco Duo, because Cisco Duo, again, is another product which deals within MFA. It's a very good product, very popular product. A lot of customers use MFA. And my question to them is always the same. If you are using a third-party MFA solution, how much does it cost? Because Cisco Duo is only £2.40 per user per month. You know, £2.40, it's not a huge amount of money, but you know, scale that up over everyone in your business. So whether you've got 10 or 50 or 100 people in your business, suddenly this one product that only costs a couple of quid is now costing your business potentially hundreds of pounds every single month for a single product. Whereas Microsoft's MFA solution is included for free within M365 Business Premium. And one of the key things around Microsoft security solutions is that they are all designed to work with one another. That's the great thing. You don't need to be shoehorning products together. You don't need to worry about compatibility. Now, some of you out there might have security solutions from a multitude of different vendors. It might take time or effort to get these products working together so it can create that effective net to catch or detect attacks. With Microsoft solutions, it's already designed to be like that out of the box. So in terms of configuration, deployment, you can do it much quicker and easier. And you know the old expression, time is money. If you can do things quicker and easier, in the long run, that is saving you money. So MFA, again, a simple and effective tool included in M365 Business Premium, but it also ties into this feature here, which is called conditional access. Now, conditional access is a tool that makes sure that people meet certain conditions before access would be granted. So without conditional access, if I wanted to sign in on my laptop, for example, and I want to access Office 365, all I'd have to do is sign in, username and password, and that's it. With conditional access, it will make me pass certain conditions first. I'll have to pass these conditions before access to Office 365 would be granted. So for example, we've got some examples of some of these conditions. Let's look at some of them. So the first one is location. Where in the world am I signing in from? And again, this is all determined by my IP address. Maybe my company only operates in the UK. There should be no reason for any IP addresses from any other countries trying to sign in to access my infrastructure. So I can make sure that only trusted IP addresses can access my internal infrastructure. Now, sometimes, again, with things such as location, sometimes you might have someone that has to go and do a business trip abroad, for example. So let's say that you've got this all set up and again, your location, UK, but you're now working in Spain because you're on a business trip. As soon as you try and sign in, the condition is not going to approve because you are not signing in from a trusted location. Again, how do we know this is you who is signing in? How do we know that someone in Spain hasn't just stolen your username and password? Well, the point is we don't know. We can't be sure. So conditional access will ask MFA to get you to prove who you are. So your phone will light up. It will ask you to scan your fingerprint or scan your face, depending on what type of biometric authentication you have on your phone, or maybe enter your 6-digit passcode. And once you've done that, everything checks out and then access can be granted. It's a bit like, you know, when you go abroad and you use your credit card to buy a big round of drinks or a big meal on the first night and your card declines. and your phone lights up, say, oh, Barclays, oh, is this really you trying to do this? It's that same sort of thing. It is just making sure that this strange behavior that we're seeing right now, your credentials being used in a different country, how do we know that's you? And it's making sure that is the case before access would be granted. We can even set conditions around the device as well. Maybe I want people to access internal infrastructure only on their company laptops, and this is all determined by your device's serial number. So again, making sure that only trusted devices can access internal infrastructure. So if someone tries to sign into your company on just a random laptop or a random tablet, if it's not a device that has been pre-approved, then access would not be granted, or at least MFA would kick in to get the person to prove that they are who they claim to be. But effectively, this all comes down to how can you be sure that the people who are signing into your infrastructure are the people they claim to be. Conditional access will make sure of that for you, making sure that anyone who has access to your most sensitive, confidential data or just your internal network are trusted people and on trusted devices. Okay, on to the next. Bear me just 2 seconds. So the next piece. Oh, actually, oh, sorry, I've got to go back one. My bad, sorry. Okay, so the next thing is Azure Virtual Desktop. Now, this is quite an interesting one because, again, it sounds like I'm going off-piste a little bit talking about Azure Virtual Desktop when I told you this was a session around Microsoft 365. But it does all tie together. So Azure Virtual Desktops is Microsoft's VDI, Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. Effectively, this allows us to create virtual desktops which can be accessed from any device in any location. So this is the only virtual desktop infrastructure, and there are other people that do VDI. You've got Citrix and VMware, again, great platforms. But Microsoft's virtual desktop infrastructure is the only virtual desktop infrastructure which is built and optimized for Microsoft 365 and Windows 10 and 11, giving you the best possible experience. Now, why would customers utilize virtual desktop? Well, again, this can give people the flexibility to work on critical workloads, again, from any device in any location, even if that device is a mobile phone or a tablet device, being able to access their full Windows desktop, all of their applications and services, and doing it securely via the cloud, meaning that any work done on the device does not stay on the device, but yet is hosted in the cloud. And let me give you an example of where we have seen this useful. Now, this is one of Microsoft's customers. It was actually the NHS over in Kent. It was, I can't remember the name of the hospital, but NHS Trust in Kent. And it was during the beginning of lockdown. And remember when everyone was being sent home, that hospital had around 200 admin workers that needed to be sent home. Now, this was obviously a big problem for the hospital because the big issue was these 200 admin workers that needed to be sent home, they all worked on desktop devices and they weren't allowed to take those desktops home with them because those desktops contain things like patient medical records and really sensitive information. So by law, they weren't allowed to take those desktops off the premises. So massive problem, 200 people that need to be sent to work from home, but they can't take their computers with them. Massive issue. So what was the NHS going to do? They figured, well, maybe we'll buy everyone laptops. They decided quickly against that because number one, it was going to cost a fortune. And number two, does anyone remember trying to buy a laptop in early 2020? Yeah, exactly. Wasn't going to happen. So they decided to use Azure Virtual Desktop. Within a few hours, they were able to spin up virtual desktops for all of their 200 staff. And then they just told everyone to go home and use whatever devices you can find lying around. Your son's iPad, Android tablets, mobile phones, your personal laptop or Mac, whatever, any device, as long as it's got a web browser. That's all it needs to be. And that meant that they could just grab any device, they could sign in virtually to their desktops, they had all of their apps and services that they needed to do their jobs, and they could just carry on working on very sensitive data, because again, that data was all hosted in the cloud, not on the device. So this met a lot of goals for the NHS. Not only did it enable a remote workforce, but it also maintained their standards of security and compliance, and it cost them a lot less than, again, going out and buying a load of laptops. Now, why am I even talking about Azure Virtual Desktop when I said this is all about M365? Well, if you have got one of the following licenses, so let's just focus on the M365 stuff. So if you've got M365 E3 or E5, academic, I don't think anyone's a school here, F3, so frontline worker, or business premium, the one that we're singing and dancing about today. If you have got one of these licenses, you can use Azure Virtual Desktop for no additional licensing cost. Okay, you do not have to pay for a license for Azure Virtual Desktop. The only thing you would have to pay for is the cost of the virtual machine, and virtual machines are billed by the hour. And how much by the hour? Well, it depends on the power of the machine. Some of our virtual machines are as little as like 13 pence or even less than that per hour. So again, depending on the power of the virtual machine, that's how much you'd be paying per hour. Per user effectively. So, but again, significant savings on what Citrix or VMware might potentially charge for licenses. And if anyone here is currently using RDS, so remote desktop servers, and again, RDS, again, great solution. But Azure Virtual Desktop can help save significant amounts of money. For example, just look at the amount of licenses you need for RDS. So you need an RDS license with software assurance, you need a server OS license, and you need a version of Office compatible with RDS. Those are 3 licenses you need for an RDS deployment. Whereas Azure Virtual Desktop, if you buy M365 Business Premium, for example, all of your licensing is included. So again, significant savings to be made on licensing. So if anyone here is using RDS, consider the move to Azure Virtual Desktop. Not only will it give you a better experience with fewer issues in terms of compatibility and functionality, but you will save money. Okay, on to the next, which is, how can M365 protect against cyber threats and data loss? Now, one of the most common attack vectors that we see are phishing emails, and I'm sure all of us on this call have seen a phishing email at some point in our lives. Now, most of the time when we see phishing emails, they're normally, well, the ones that I look at anyway, sometimes they can be quite comical. You know, there's bad spelling, there's bad grammar, they're using the wrong logo of the company they're pretending to be. And it's very easy to write off. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. My apologies. It's very easy to write off phishing emails in terms of, oh, how would anyone fall for that? But phishing emails have been becoming a lot more sophisticated over recent years. And again, these phishing emails that we see using things such as email spoofing, people using social engineering, you know, going onto LinkedIn, looking up people, finding out their company hierarchy, learning what people's names are and email address structures so they can pretend to be people that they're not. And again, if you want to have a look at some of the examples of social engineering, again, with a web browser of your choice, there have been a lot of attacks that have used, again, data gathered from things such as LinkedIn to launch, again, multi-million-dollar successful attacks against businesses. Now, we all know that you shouldn't open an email from someone you don't recognize. I'm probably sure that most of us have probably got those headers on our emails. You know, when you get an email and you got a header at the top saying, don't open links or attachments from anyone you don't recognize. You know, solid advice. But it doesn't stop it from happening. You know, sometimes you might get an email from someone you think you recognize, and you might click the link or the attachment, and then that's when all kinds of hell can break loose. Just by clicking a link or an attachment in an email, from a malicious source, whether you know it was malicious or not, can cause untold damage to your business. By clicking a link or an attachment, that could launch an attack which locks up files and data within your business, and then potentially be ransomed for hundreds of thousands of pounds to get that data back. And even those people that pay the fine, a lot of the times they don't even get given the encryption key. They pay the money, but they don't actually get their data back. So it's a very sad situation. So what can M365 do to help protect against these types of attack? Well, here we've got Defender for Office 365. And the whole idea with this, imagine you open your computer one morning, you see an email, you think it's from someone you recognize, you haven't had your morning coffee, you're not quite awake yet, and you click on that link or that attachment. Now, again, without any kind of protection, all kinds of damage could happen. But luckily for you, you are using Defender for Office 365. Now, when you open that link or attachment, it will open that link or attachment, but it opens it in a virtualized sandbox, an isolated environment, like a detonation chamber, if you will. So again, the email opens or the link opens, and then the AI-powered scanning goes to work. Microsoft is looking for anything suspicious about that link or attachment that you've just opened. Is it trying to install something? Is it trying to make a change or run a script? You know, things that an attachment or a web link wouldn't normally do. And if it detects anything that it doesn't like the look of, the detonation chamber effectively implodes, and you are left with this screen here, this big red warning saying this website has been classified as malicious. The good news is you have been saved. A potential attack which could have had untold damage on your organization, you have now been saved from. But the story doesn't finish there. Though you have been saved, all the details about what just happened have now been sent to your IT administrator. Within the M365 Security Center, they can see exactly what just happened. They can see that at 9 a.m. you opened an email which triggered a response from Defender for Office 365, and they can learn about what that attack was. For example, has anyone else in the company received the same email as you? Does this mean that my organization is actually under attack right now? Because normally it's very rare, especially within a business, that that just one person would be sent a malicious email. Normally it's the case that if one person's received it, there's probably another 10 to 50 or 100 people within that organization that have also received the same email. Now, tools like this allow IT administrators to quickly understand the threat, to know that they are under attack and that preventive measures need to be taken. Now, one of the things with cyber attacks is that cyber attacks are high intensity and short duration. You know, they hit hard, but they hit fast. Cyber attacks don't last long. Literally, the attack itself maybe only lasts for maybe an hour or so, but the effects of the attack could be felt for months afterwards. So that means that IT administrators and security consultants within businesses only have a short amount of time to be able to identify what is going on, to be able to protect themselves. And tools like Defender for Office 365 are going to give IT admins that insight, to give them that knowledge to be able to better protect their own borders. And when we talk about security, we're not just talking about hackers and attackers, we're also talking about the protection of data. So I have a question for you all, and you don't have to answer it out loud, you can answer it in your heads. But do you know of anything within your respective companies that would stop someone from sending confidential data outside of the business? Do you have any tools that would stop that from happening? The threat of being fired, you know, that doesn't count. I'm talking about tools that prevent that action from even taking place. Because let's be honest, what is more valuable to businesses than IP? That is what your company is built on. Whether that IP is an idea, whether that IP is customers, whether that IP is product. That is one of your most valuable assets as a company, and that needs to be protected. So what do you have in place to stop that IP from being potentially leaked outside of the business? If you're sitting there scratching your head and thinking, oh, actually, we don't have anything. Well, I have certainly got a feature for you. This is called Azure Information Protection. Once again, like everything else, all of this is included in M365 Business Premium. So Azure Information Protection exists across things such as Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, PDFs, and it allows you to classify and label your documents based on their sensitivity. So let's say, for example, I have got, let me just grab my pen real quick. I've got this super secret document right there. As you can see, it's literally got secret plastered all over it. Now, whenever I'm in either Word or PowerPoint or Excel, I have this sensitivity banner running across the top of the screen. And you can see there are policies in here like personal, public, general, confidential, highly confidential. Now, this is just how it looks out of the box. You can configure these, you can rename them, change them, whatever you want. Okay, you can mess about this. This is just how it looks out of the box. So let's say that I want to send this confidential document to all of you guys because we all work for the same company, but I do not want this document being leaked outside of our business. So I might mark this document as confidential. Now, the cool thing is when I mark this document as confidential, it actually embeds the security of the policy into the metadata of the document itself. Wherever this document goes, the security travels with the data. So even if this document was sent to someone who doesn't use Microsoft 365, the security is still embedded in the document. So what would it look like? Well, if I emailed this document to all of you guys, yeah, it'd be fine. You could open it, you could look at it, no problems. But if one of you tried to then send it to someone outside of the business, the email would still send. But when the person tries to open the attachment at the other end, they will just get an error message telling them that they do not have permission to access this document. So this is brilliant. This can make sure that my most confidential, sensitive data or IP remains within my company. Now, we can take that protection a step further. For example, I've also got a highly confidential policy here. Now, I could set this highly confidential policy to mean you can look at the document, but you can't save it. You can't print it. You can't screenshot it. You can't share your screen with this document when you're on a Teams call. You can't print this document or take a screenshot or a screen snip. You know, I can really narrow down what can and can't be done with this document. So let's say, for example, I put that policy on this document, I send it out, and the person that I send it to tries to print it, but it doesn't work. They try to screenshot it, but it doesn't work. What they don't realize is every time they do that, I get a notification as the document owner telling me what they've just tried to do. So I can see 9:05, Joe Bloggs tried to print that document. At 9:15, he tried to take a screenshot of that document. Now, I probably don't trust Joe Bloggs anymore. So what I can do now is I can use the powers of AIP to claw back that document from Joe Bloggs. Next time Joe Bloggs tries to access that data, he will get an error message telling him that he no longer has permission to access that document. So again, it gives you a lot of control. Again, not just over just who can access the data, but then what people can do with that data once it's in their possession. So, you know, some really cool stuff we can do. And again, like I said, if you don't have anything currently right now within your organization to protect your data, again, it's absolutely worth looking at. And Azure Information Protection, again, is included as part of M365 Business Premium. Now, the next thing is Cloud App Discovery. Now, this is a tool which is designed to protect against things such as shadow IT. Now, shadow IT sounds a lot more sinister than what it actually is. It sounds like it should have something to do with ninjas. It doesn't. Shadow IT is when someone within an organization utilizes software which is not sanctioned by their company. And we see this all the time. Sometimes people within a company will have a WhatsApp group. There's nothing wrong with people having a WhatsApp group to plan where they're going to watch the football or where they're going to go on a Friday night after work. That's fine. But when these WhatsApp groups are used for business purposes, when people start sharing customer information or financial data, that's when it starts to become a problem. Because again, if you're sharing customer or financial data within a WhatsApp group, again, if that company is not using WhatsApp for commercial purposes, then effectively that could be classed as a GDPR breach. And not could be, it absolutely would be a breach of GDPR. And who do you reckon is going to be responsible? The person that set up the WhatsApp group or you, the company? If you answered B, you, the company, you are right. It would absolutely be you that would be held responsible. So again, you need to make sure that whatever people are doing, especially on their corporate devices, corporate laptops, for example, making sure that whatever apps they're using, that they are sanctioned. Because even if someone is using something like Google Drive on their company laptop, again, they could be saving corporate data into their personal cloud storage, and you wouldn't even know about it. If there was a breach at Google and that data was to leak out, once again, your company would be held responsible for losing that corporate data. And again, a big fat GDPR fine would be coming your way. And the thing is with shadow IT is a lot of the times, how do you know? How do you know people are doing it, especially with a mobile remote workforce? You're not in the office every day. You don't see everyone. You don't see their devices. How do you know what people are running on their corporate laptops? And again, I've given examples of storage. Sometimes people use dodgy websites to, download like pirated music or software or Hollywood movies. And again, I don't think anyone on this call has ever downloaded anything illegally like movies or music before. I'm sure you're all very good people, but you will know that in some cases, some people think they might be downloading the latest Hollywood film, but in actuality, they're downloading the most dangerous malware known to mankind. Malware which could then spread into the network of the company and cause all kinds of untold damage. So again, I need to know what people are running on their corporate devices. So this is where cloud app discovery comes in. There's quite a lot happening on this slide, but let me just draw your attention to a couple of bits. So down here, we've got discovered apps. This is showing us everything which we found. So everything green, that's sanctioned, that's fine. Everything red is unsanctioned. So we've got things such as Google and Mega, which have been found. And again, these are two applications which are unsanctioned by the IT department. And if you notice an application on here which you don't like the look of, first of all, I'm not expecting any IT administrator to have an encyclopedic knowledge of every app that's going to show up. They might see some weird stuff that they've never seen before, but Microsoft has got your back there. If you see an application like Mega and you don't know what it is, you can click on it and it will tell you what that application is, what it's commonly used for, and Microsoft will even give it a security rating. So even IT administrators can get a good understanding of what this app is, what it's for, and how safe is it. I can tell you just quickly, Mega is a file sharing website which is commonly used for illicit purposes, and it has a very low security score. So if I was to click on that and I see people using it, I can click on this, I can see who in the company is using it, what devices they're using it on, and if I don't like the look of it, I can block it. So I can block access to these applications. So again, this just allows companies to maintain the control over shadow IT and make sure that certain applications, whether it be data or storage or applications that could just pose a risk to the organization, are kept under control. Okay. One of the big additions to M365 Business Premium this year was the introduction of M365 Defender for Business. Now, without going in too deep, Defender for Business is effectively a kind of stripped back version of the E5 security feature Defender for Endpoint. Now, E5, for those of you that aren't completely up on all of your Microsoft licensing, E5 is the top enterprise SKU that we have. So the top enterprise M365 product that we sell, it's around 50 something quid a month. It's all singing, it's all dancing. Some of the world's biggest companies around the world use this. We have taken a feature from there, which was called Defender for Endpoint. We made a couple of tiny tweaks to it, and we have put it into M365 Business Premium. So basically, this means that small businesses, small to medium businesses, can now have enterprise grade security within M365 Business Premium. It's absolutely awesome. And you might think, well, why do I need all this? Because we've got AV and everything else. Well, you know, protecting an endpoint is difficult. Look at all the things on the left-hand side that you need to protect devices against: malware, phishing, ransom days, zero-day attacks. And on the right-hand side, look at all of the stuff you need to install on devices to protect it against all the stuff on the left. Now, again, if you were to buy all of these different solutions from different vendors, all the stuff in blue, that is going to cost, first of all, it's going to cost a fortune. Secondly, it is going to be a nightmare to manage this stuff. And thirdly, it's just going to, the performance of the device is just going to absolutely plummet. And when you're looking at all of that stuff on the left there, how do you know what security solutions to buy? Because there's only a few out there to pick from. As you can see, a huge amount of security solutions currently available, and really this is a lot of the confusion which a lot of customers, even maybe yourselves, feel when it comes to picking security products. How do we know? How do we know what to choose? How do we know what we need? How much is too much? A lot of customers that I've spoke to in the past will normally just go for best of breed. We'll just buy the best stuff, the most expensive stuff, because if it's the best and expensive, it's gotta be good, right? Well, that best of breed model is absolutely broken. Continually layering best of breed point solutions to address emerging security needs has caused company security to break down in some areas. We see situations where, with all of these different tools that customers buy, that we see tools are not being integrated because either it's too expensive or it's too complicated. And if you don't do this, this creates gaps in visibility. We see situations where there's more alerts to triage than IT teams can actually handle, and constantly having to retrain IT administrators on all of the new tools that the company keeps buying is a constant challenge. So we need to find a balance. We need to find a balance. It's important to find this balance between those best of breed solutions, but yet a security posture that can be maintained over time with your current staff and your current budget. That's where we need to get to. And that is exactly where Defender for Business sits. Again, it is all designed to be cloud powered. So again, all of those insights, remember those 43 trillion signals we mentioned earlier, all of that data that Microsoft gathers about attacks and attack vectors, all the data we have feeds back into products like this, making sure that you are up to date with the latest security solutions. Here's a quick question, which again, you don't have to shout out the answer because I wouldn't hear you anyway. But how many threats do you think emerge every single hour in this world? How many unique threats, viruses, malware emerge every single hour in the world? I'll give you a couple of seconds to think of what you think the answer might be. Congratulations. If you said 7 million, you are correct. It is 7 million unique threats are created every single hour. Now, if you've got any AV solutions currently within your offices that require regular updates, how can your AV solutions keep up with 7 million threats per hour unless your AV is literally updating itself every 30 seconds? This is why having that built-in cloud-powered environment where Microsoft does have the scope to be able to monitor and update and keep people protected up to the second. And of course, no single security solution is going to solve all of your security problems, but Microsoft recommend fundamentally the organizations such as yourself simplify your approach to complex security challenges by using natively integrated solutions. So utilizing natively integrated solutions into your stack, that's going to help reduce the amount of time that you spend managing all of these different products. It's going to make the user experience easier. It's going to lower your integration costs, and it's going to reduce your security blind spots. And the thing about Defender for Business is it's not just one thing. Defender for Business is made up of a subset of different products: threat and vulnerability management, attack surface reduction, next-gen protection, endpoint detection and response, and my very favorite, auto investigation and remediation. I love this feature. Effectively, it is automation, but in security. So effectively, it will detect threats and it will respond to the threat in terms of the investigation, the remediation. It will respond in exactly the same way an IT administrator would do, just with, less coffee breaks. But that's the great thing about it. It's not just, oh, there's a threat quarantine. It doesn't do a one size fits all. It investigates, it looks at exactly what the attack type is, and it determines using AI from all of that data that Microsoft gathers. Remember, we spoke 43 trillion signal points per day, and it will use that artificial intelligence to determine the best way to handle that specific attack. It's like having a virtual security assistant. It's brilliant. And effectively, you can set this to look after pretty much most aspects of your security within your organization. It's very, very cool. And like we mentioned earlier, that the backbone of Microsoft security is that intelligent security graph. The fact that Microsoft can manage these trillions of data points every single day, and again, building out that level of protection. And all this culminates to Defender for Business looking a little something like this. And one of the things I love about Defender for Business is it's designed to give you clear, easy to read dashboards, and it gives you business context and priority. So it categorizes things in terms of things like severity, for example, gives you information on users with threat detections, devices, all kinds of stuff. It will be constantly monitoring the security of my entire Microsoft infrastructure, showing where my strengths and weaknesses are, device compliancy, anything that's been unresolved. Loads of really awesome stuff, as well as giving updates around things that it's been doing around blocking out malware and phishing. And I love these dashboards because, again, at a glance, I can see what's going on. It's not complicated to understand or to get the data. It's very, very simplistic in its approach, which I absolutely love. And just lastly, on Defender for Business, again, Gartner, Forrester, IDC, MITRE, SC have all put Defender for Business as one of the best, and in some cases the best, endpoint security product currently available today. So again, don't go on the whole name thing. Just because you haven't heard of Microsoft, being a security company, doesn't mean they're not one of the best. So again, absolutely worth considering. Of course, if you want more information on Defender for Business, please reach out to your partners, and we'd be more than happy to have a further chat with you. Okay, I've got one more thing I want to talk about, which is Microsoft 365 and securing devices. Now, as a lot of you probably know, more and more people with this hybrid mobile workforce that we find ourselves in, a lot of people are using things like mobile devices for work purposes. We've seen BYOD, bring your own device, has absolutely exploded since COVID. And again, people using personal mobile phones, personal tablets, even personal laptops. Now, whilst it's fine, people using their own mobile phones for work purposes, those devices need to be secured. Because again, if you've got people in your company that use their mobile phones, even if they're just using their personal mobile phone just for emails, think about all the data that might come through emails in attachments or customer contacts. Think about all that data that could be then saved to that person's phone. And if they ever left your company, what's to stop them from taking all that data and going to a competitor or whatever it might be? The point of the matter is there is still a huge amount of people that let people use mobile phones in the workplace but don't do anything to protect them. Now, Microsoft does have a solution with something called Intune. Now, Intune is effectively Microsoft's mobile device management solution. And like I said, it's not limited to mobile phones. Intune covers laptops, tablets, desktops, anything. Intune covers the lot. For this example, I'm going to use a mobile phone just from a simple standpoint, but don't limit Intune to it. You can literally use it for absolutely everything. But Intune can be deployed in two different flavors. So the first one we have is this one, which is MDM, which is mobile device management. And the second one is MAM, which is mobile application management. Now, what is the difference between the two? Why would you use one over the other? Well, MDM would be used typically for company-owned devices. So let's say that you're the company manager, you give everyone a shiny new iPhone, for example. It belongs to the company, so it's a company asset, so you might enroll it into MDM. This means that you as the company have control over the device. If that device was lost or stolen, you can erase all the data from the device. If you don't want your employees downloading Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok onto their company mobile phones, you can block them from downloading certain or accessing certain applications. Again, you have that control. You can make people use stronger passcodes or biometrics, whether it be face or fingerprint. Effectively, you have a lot of control over the device, and quite rightly, because it is a company asset. It belongs to the business. Now, MDM, you know, it's a good solution. Probably not that good for BYOD. If I was to bring my own personal phone into the workplace, I probably wouldn't want to enroll it into this policy, because I don't want my company having the ability to erase all the data off my phone on a whim. I don't want my company to dictate what applications I can and can't use on a phone that I bought myself. And Microsoft agrees that is not the best way. And this is why we have this, which is MAM, which is mobile application management. Now, the thing where this differs, this again, typically for BYOD scenarios, this is where the company doesn't have control over the device. Instead, the company only has control over the applications, the managed applications on the device, the applications that the company owns. And just to visualize that, let me just show you this next thing. So let's say that this is my mobile phone here. So when I enroll it in MAM, it creates what we call a multi-identity policy. Now, that's just a very fancy way of saying data separation. I've got all my personal stuff down here, and I've got all the company-owned applications up here. Now, it's worth mentioning that the organization doesn't have any visibility over the personal stuff. You know, as far as my company is concerned, that part of the device doesn't even exist. They can't see none of that. All they can see is the managed stuff. So all the applications that belong to my business. Now, this means that I've got the best of both worlds. If I was to suddenly decide I was going to leave the company, I phone my boss, I tell him I'm leaving, I'm not coming back. He phones IT and goes, Ed's leaving, erase his phone. And again, they can't do anything to the personal stuff, but they can get rid of these, the managed applications. So the managed application, they don't really delete, they just log me out. But effectively, for all intents and purposes, that part of the phone has been deleted and my personal apps are left alone just as they were. So again, it really is the best of both worlds, but it also works wonders for protecting data as well. So again, let's say that I receive an email through Outlook, through my company Outlook, that contains a Word document. Now, I can save that Word document into my corporate OneDrive. Of course I can, because it's all part of the managed applications. But what do you think would happen if I tried to save this Word document into my Google Drive? Do you think it will work, or do you think it would not? If you said not, you are correct. It's not going to work. Any data which has come through a managed application cannot be saved into a personal app. And again, this is fantastic because, again, this ensures that any data on that phone remains in a portion of the device where it's always managed by the company. Now, I'm sure there's someone out there screaming at their screen, take a screenshot. Well, You could try taking a screenshot, but again, that policy can be set. So if you do try to screenshot corporate data, it will just black screen. You know, has anyone ever tried to take a screenshot of like a banking app or Netflix? I tried to take a screenshot of Netflix once. I was trying to make a meme, didn't work. But when I tried it, it just black screen. Same thing here. If you try and screenshot corporate data, it will black screen. And again, don't forget about Azure information protection. We mentioned that earlier. If I was to take a screenshot of corporate data and it's got an AIP policy on it, it could grasp me up to the document owner, telling them about what I've just tried to do. So lastly, how can M365 save money? Well, I'm just going to use this upsell slide for a second because I think it gives a really good example, especially from Business Standard. So Business Standard, for any of you that are on Business Standard at the moment, Business Standard is £9.40 per user per month. And M365 is £16.60 per user per month. That is a cost difference of £7.20. But obviously you get all of those security features that we just mentioned earlier. Now, for those of you that are using Business Standard out there, or if you're using Business Basic, or anything basically below Business Premium, if you are, how much more money are you spending on security? That's the question. If you're using Business Standard, for example, as you can see, Business Standard doesn't come with any of the advanced security tools. So your Business Standard customers, surely you're buying security from somewhere. Are you spending more than £7.20 per month on security? Because if you are, then moving to Business Premium could be the solution. And even if some of you are on Business Basic or apps for business, if you are spending, again, more than £16 on your entire solution, so for your Microsoft solution, security, telephony, everything else, if you're spending more than that, then Business Premium could potentially be a really good deal for you. And if you were to try and go out and buy third-party or enterprise-grade equivalents of things like Intune, Azure Information Protection, Conditional Access, AVD, Defender for Business, Defender for Office 5, Cloud App Security, I can tell you now that you wouldn't be able to buy third-party equivalents of these products for less than £7. In fact, let's see how much it would cost. If I was to try and build my own version of M365 Business Premium by using things like Google Workspace for my productivity, using Mimecast for my web and email protection, Okta for identity management, VMware for endpoint management, TeamViewer for RDS, and CrowdStrike for my endpoint detection and response. If I was to do all of that, and again, all of this is included in M365 Business Premium for £16.60, add all of that up, £53.36 that would cost me if I tried to build my own version of M365. So I hope that kind of like shows the value of what you're getting, and effectively, again, the power of the tools that you have with things like Defender for Business, for example, again, enterprise grade tools, all in an SMB product that costs less than £20 per user per month. It really is an absolute bargain. So I've got a slide that says any questions. Sabs, are there any questions in the chat?
No, the questions that were in there I've managed to answer.
Okay, fantastic. So just while you're here, Sabs, I've got this for you.
Yep. So yeah, thank you for your time today. My email address is on the screen, but obviously you would have been put into touch for this event from your partner. So obviously any information you've got, please go back to your partner. If you do have any information that you want to ask me, I will obviously be getting your partner involved as well. So we are your partner support network, but we're obviously here in this chain to support you as well as the end user. So really appreciate your time. And yeah, if you've got any more questions, we'll hold on for a sec. But if not, please enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, that is it. So yeah, once again, thank you all very much for attending. Hope you found this useful and gave you some ideas of some of the stuff you can do. And a couple of things just to mention just before I wrap up is a lot of those features I mentioned, you can buy them standalone. So if you like the idea of Defender for Business, but you don't necessarily want everything else, you can buy Defender for Business just on its own for a couple of quid per user per month. So speak to your partner about standalone options as well. If any of those features you found particularly attractive for your organizations. But that is it from me. So if you have any questions, please hang on. But otherwise, thank you very much for coming and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
So Ed, I've got a question about why would you use Teams instead of Teams Viewer?
Teams instead of Teams Viewer.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
Well, Teams Viewer. So Teams Viewer, that's part of the Teams Room solutions. It's
right, okay.
It's like having a little screen, but yeah. So Teams Viewer is just an additional part of Teams. You can't use it standalone. So you need Teams for Teams Viewer.
Perfect. Hopefully that answers your question,
yes.
Kai. Any more before we close it up? No, I don't think so. Okay.
Oh wait. Oh, sorry. Wait, hold on. What would you use instead of TeamViewer? Sorry, Kai, you still there, mate? Sorry, I wasn't looking at the question. I just heard Teams Viewer.
Oh, sorry,
it's TeamViewer. Sorry, it's TeamViewer.
Yeah.
What would you use instead of TeamViewer? Well, you could, Kai, I hope you're still there, mate. TeamViewer obviously is IT could use TeamViewer to, remotely take control of a device and stuff like that. You can do that in Teams, believe it or not. When you're actually on a Teams meeting, you can give control of your device to someone else. So that's what's happened to me when I've had like IT issues. I get on a Teams call with one of my IT guys. I give him control, and then he can navigate his way around my device and do whatever needs doing. So, so yeah, you can use Teams to do like remote desktop control. Sorry, I heard Teams Viewer, which is a product. Sorry, Kai, but yeah, you can use Teams instead of Team Viewer. Yes.
Might be how I positioned it, sorry. But yeah, Kai says thank you. So yeah, cool. Brill. Okay, thanks everyone. See you again soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.